everybody. Special guest here today, our dear friend, companion, compadre, David Carrasco, head coach of the LMU program. David, welcome to Water Polo Wednesday.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here, guys.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we are.
Can we get a round of applause,
We're so excited.
actually?
Yeah, we have some new
audience?
Clay. Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Very happy for David. Yeah,
Absolutely.
we're very happy for you. The new coach, Clay. He's the new coach. He's in his first year.
That's right, and it's been quite a transition. LMU has had the same head coach for some years now, and this is a very recent transition over to David, who we have very high expectations for and high belief in. Very, very intelligent player, played at a very high level in Spain, went to LMU himself, was quite an achieved player over there, had a stint with LA Athletic Club as well for a season, and now he's on to bigger and better things. Turning LMU from, being kind of in that mid-tier class of polo teams and turning it into a championship program. So, David, would love to hear just kind of off the bat where your head was at coming out of LMU. Is being a head coach of a program something that you always aspired to be?
Yeah, so it's great to be able to work with LMU and make it a successful program again. We were successful in the early 2000s to the 2010 era, and after that it was kind of challenging times, so myself and Raul, we're putting all our energy and effort to bring the team back where it belongs.
I love this. I love the rise of the Jesuits, I'm starting to call it. The return of the Empire, Clay. The rise of the Jesuits. You got Fordham on the up, LMU with a new coach. I think what Keith and Will are doing at Santa Clara has been really positive. We had them on the show earlier this week. I love this, David. I think this is the most excited I've been about LMU water polo in a long time. You guys have a great core coming back as well. So congratulations, man. Really cool. Really excited for you in the program. Can't wait to see what you do in your first year here. Okay. Your first year. I'm going to go to some slides here for a quick
stats.
Throw some stats. Clayton thinks I just have stats for days.
Wes has the data.
Yeah, I have some data. I don't have all the data. So we won't present things we're not certain of. But congratulations, David, the new head coach at LMU, first new coach in, I think, over 20 years. Yeah. An incredible transition here, opportunity for you. And you brought on Raul Morales, who Gavin Arroyo said to me, best assistant coach in NC2A water polo. Talk to us about what that decision was like for you guys to bring in Raul, and what the conversation's like with recruits. You got two foreign coaches here, right? Raul from Brazil, you from Spain. What's that like for you guys?
And the decision about bringing Raul was pretty easy, honestly. I played against him, a really good friend of mine, Rafa Vergara, he's also a good friend of him, and I needed someone closer to my age, and who was involved playing not long time ago, so he knows the new water polo, because we all know that how our sport has been changing in the last years with all the different rules. So having him is great. We started working in January, and just after a month it felt like we were working together forever. We understood each other pretty well. We see water polo pretty similar, and it's great having him. It's great.
Yeah. That's amazing. Well, we look for big things from both of you. You're heading into your first season as a head coach. How is this different than being an assistant coach?
I'm lucky that John, when he was a head coach, he let me do a lot of things, and I had a big saying as part of the program. He really trusted me, so I'm really thankful for that. And basically now the big difference is the direction of the games, being sitting on the bench or now standing and being able to direct the team and be a little bit more present.
Mm-hmm.
that's gonna be the biggest difference, you know. And of course, you know, like the practices, we're changing the way we practice, we're changing the way our system is. So that's the biggest difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you had two key transfers. As part of your role, you immediately hit the transfer portal. You brought in Nico Furneaux, who, and we previewed these transfers earlier in the week, but I want to give you an opportunity to talk about them. Nico Furneaux from Santa Barbara, who I had a chance to meet at World U20 Worlds. He played for Canada. What a great individual he is. Can't say enough good things about the personal side of that, and somebody I think a great character culture fit for you. He fits that Jesuit kind of mentality, I believe, of the whole person. And then you had Alika Naoni, who I don't know a whole lot about, aside from the fact that he played in National League for Channel Cats the last couple of years. I know he was at Cal and Long Beach. Talk to us about bringing those two guys in, what the thought process there was. I mean, these guys are immediate impact players.
Yeah, Nico was whole situation with him about, you know, like the situation at Santa Barbara. We know it's not great with how their pool is and everything, you know, and his expectations of playing national team, senior national team, you know, like for example, right now in the World Champs in Singapore, he was the last cut.
Yeah.
So, you know, like he has high expectations for a program, you know, and he wants to play and improve as much as possible. So that was our biggest fact to bring him. You know, of course, I watched him play. You know, like I remember one game that he played against Long Beach last year when I think it was the lowest Long Beach was because they were beating Santa Barbara, and suddenly Nico scored 3 goals in a counterattack, and Santa Barbara beat them. You know, but after that, Long Beach recomposed and they end up winning conference. You know, but yeah, the style of play that Nico has matches the style of play I want LMU to play. You know, so that it was an easy decision. You know, and our goal with him is to develop him into a senior national team player and making the roster. And hopefully, I know the world champs are already happening, you know, but for future world champs and hopefully Olympics, he turns out to be our first Olympian at LMU.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. They're going to have another shot, obviously, at Brazil. They lost in a shootout. And I do feel, in watching, my personal opinion, for what that's worth, I think Nico would help that team. Yeah. The way his defense is elite. I mean, I think he led the nation in perimeter steals with like 27 last year. As a perimeter player, that's amazing. That's incredible. And so then you've got Alika Naoni come. Oh, sorry, Clay, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, you said that he matched the playing style of LMU. I'm just curious how you would describe the style of LMU and how that maybe meshes with like the culture that you want to have at LMU, and then also how does Alika fit into that playing style and culture?
Yeah, so basically, as a head coach right now, the first thing that I did in January was to assess basically the type of players we have, because unfortunately too, I cannot change the whole team, you know, so I had to assess the type of players we had and the best style of play that matches our current players. You know, and if that style of play is the style of play I want to play, you know, like for example, like let's say we have full roster being 6'5" players, 250 pounds, you know, we wouldn't be able to play the same style of play as we're gonna play having Tommaso, Abel, Nico, Alika, you know, the type of players we have. You know, they're smaller players, more agile, faster, you know, like that's the style of play we're going to play basically, you know, because that's where they shine. Yeah.
Sure.
And you mentioned a couple of these guys coming back, right? You've got Tommaso, who was injured last year, Bense Baric, who also ended up the season injured. So that was unfortunate, arguably your two most influential players, but you get them back, you add Nico, you add Alika, that's some veteran depth, guys who have high level experience at world championships, playing at other schools. You guys, in my opinion, are probably one of the most dangerous teams in the country because we just don't know. Right, we just don't know yet, and so that unknown like we have a pretty good idea what San Jose State's going to be and what Pepperdine's going to be. You and Pacific in this WCC are the most unknown to me. You're a little more veteran laden than Pacific is because I think they graduated 10 players or something, some absurd number. But you've got some talent coming back. And talk to us about how you approach this season before we jump into your freshman recruits. How do you approach this season in bringing those transfers together and making them part of what LMU water polo style is? Like, what are you doing anything differently now that you have transfer versus freshman? Because a 22-year-old is very different than an 18, 19-year-old, right?
Yeah, so basically, I mean, we started practices on Monday, and of course we don't have the full team because international players are coming a little late, some of them, and the freshmen are playing JOs, this weekend. So the way we're gonna do it, we'll basically separate the team and, we'll work on the freshmen to give them the fundamentals and the right approach towards the system we want to play, because we cannot ask them to do one type of movement if they don't know how to execute that movement, so that's gonna be crucial. And the transfers, I think they're gonna fit in better than a freshman because they've already played a higher level. Like Nico has played already college water polo, Alika has played college water polo and national league, and he's a talent, he's a really good player. Jake, the player from Malta, he's played senior European championships already, so he's been playing a high level. So I think it's gonna be easier for them to catch up. Yeah.
Okay. One more question before we jump to your freshman recruits. The new world of NC2A College Sports Commission water polo. It allows for more scholarships. It allows for more NIL, for direct funding payments from universities. And you don't have to share details, but as a new coach, you've got in your first year, you're the only coach who really hasn't been a head coach under the old rules. Okay. Everybody else is used to different rules. How do you approach that from a philosophical perspective? How does LMU approach that from investing in the water polo program? Is that something that's part of your charter as a new coach, or what is that conversation like? Because we really, on the outside, we have no idea how this is going to go.
Yeah, so it's a new era, and different schools are approaching this differently, and unfortunately we're not in a spot where, our legacy allows us to, go reach out to bigger alums, and be able to bring money for the new era of unlimited scholarships. People think that just because it's unlimited, everyone has unlimited scholarships, and that's not the case.
Just not true.
I've had a couple recruits now with unlimited scholarships. Would everyone in the team have a scholarship? No, it doesn't work that way. So I think we need to go step by step. I think the racing scholarships, yes, the department is gonna help, but they're gonna help until a certain point. They're not gonna help more than that, because there's other teams, there's Title IX coming in, there's other factors that affect this decision. And then the programs can go and fundraise, get more scholarships, but I think our situation right now, we have to go step by step, and before going and ask for more scholarships to donors, we have to elevate the level of our program and the competitiveness. When we win conference, when we play head-to-head against big schools, that's going to be our argument to those investors and say, you see, we're already doing this. With a little bit of help, we'll be able to achieve way more. So that's the approach that we have.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I mean, proof's in the pudding. So let's move now to your recruits. Clay, why don't you take this one?
Sure. So is my audio okay still?
Yes. Yeah, we got you.
We see a lot of different locations here. We see a few people from California and a few not. Bring us through from the top left here, starting with Eduardo coming out of Brazil, left-handed attacker.
Yeah, so Eduardo was in Junior Worlds with Brazil this past July in Zagreb. He's coming in as a freshman, big lefty. We'll see how he fits with the team, but I see he has a lot of potential, and he's already been practicing with the senior team of Brazil, not in competition with the senior team, but in the selection camps. I think he's gonna give us that extra help on the right side, as a lefty, having Tommaso this year with him, teaching him how we play, and of course they have completely different styles.
Sure.
Tommaso is 5'6", Eduardo is 6'4", lefty, so it's completely different. But having them together for a year, then I think that's going to help him a lot. And do you want me to go with all of them?
Yeah,
or?
keep going. Yeah, sure.
I mean, yeah, we'll keep
Unless
going,
Clay has
absolutely.
somebody else.
No.
Clay wants to talk about somebody else. That's fine too.
I mean, we can jump over to the other foreigner, if you will, Jake Bonavia out of Malta, right-handed attacker. Talk to us a little bit about him.
Yeah, so Jake is a really fast player, agile. He matches exactly the style of play I want to play. He's coming as a grad student. He just finished his undergrad in Malta, and he's currently playing right now the Maltese League. As you all know, Maltese League is during the summer, and usually they bring a lot of international players. But this year, since since happening at the same time as World Champs, Salah is there. Aaron Younger is playing with him. They're in the same team.
Yeah.
So those are the two big names that they have this year. But yeah, he's a player that is going to fit our style perfectly. I've seen him play. I've talked to good friends of mine who have coached him, and they gave me great references. So I think he's going to help us right away.
Mhm.
And with the new rules, I think the old saying about internationals, which I've heard since I came as a sophomore, when I came as a sophomore, internationals take a year to adjust. It's true, but I think with the new rules and everything, it's a little bit more different. I think the biggest position for an international to adjust is the center defender.
Yeah.
Is how international water polo let us play hard, let us wrestle and fight in the center defender positions. Here NCA is safer. They want to keep players safer, so it's an adjustment basically for those positions. But I think the perimeter is not that big of an adjustment. Yeah.
I'm interested in the networking, and I do want to get to the Californians here, which is also great to see. If you had an Italian coming in, a Spaniard coming in, you have a Brazilian here, that would make sense because those countries at this point are pretty well networked into our collegiate system. I don't recall seeing too many faces out of Malta. Maybe I've missed them, but now we have a few in this season. Why do you think that's the case, and how did you come to discover Jake?
I think there's two countries that I'm focusing on these two countries, which is Malta and also Israel. Israel, we've been receiving a lot of emails from recruits. Of course, it has to do probably with the situation in their country, and they want out and they want to study it in a different country, and
sure.
That's basically probably the reasoning behind that. But lately, these couple years, I've been receiving a lot of increase from internationals, like basically from Israel. There's other countries that are also becoming more popular in NCA, but Malta having Fordham, I think they're picking up a goalie and a couple more players from Malta. It's helping the sport on the NCA level to bring it to a higher level, and having players like Ryder, Chase, Olympians, in NCA, that's giving visibility, which I think for internationals from other countries, they're seeing NCA now more attractive than before.
Certainly. Yeah, definitely. Appreciate that. All right, on to the Americans here, starting with Mateo, right-handed attacker out of Santa Barbara, California. How'd you come to discover him, and what do you think he'll add to the program?
Yeah, so Mateo is we've been in touch for a long time. His sister played at LMU. And he has his dad is from Peru, so we have like that Spanish speaking background. And I've seen him play. I've seen him play. Like he's a player that I don't know how he is gonna adjust to the next level. I think he has an upside, for playing the. We play 1-2 side, the European side, the right side. We say 1-2 side.
Mhm.
So playing the right side, I think he's gonna have to adjust at the beginning, but I don't think he's gonna have a lot of problems in mid-season and sophomore year to be a big role for us.
Yeah, awesome. On to Dylan King, utility out of Moraga, California.
Yeah, Dylan is utility, plays center. He can play center defender. He's basically playing center now for CC United. His same team, his teammate with Adrian, the goalie.
Mm.
And yeah, we needed more weight, and bigger players in those two positions, and now with the new rules, like the amount of exclusions that
Yeah.
players are picking up, we need that extra help in case, like that utility player who is not a specific center defender has to go and play center defender. So he's gonna help us in that side of the game, and in offense, of course, he's great post player, great posting up and going in the center. He's gonna help. We have good centers already, and he's gonna have to work his way up his first year, but I think he's gonna be a big contributor in the future. Yeah.
Yeah. Spreading out exclusions across the team is imperative to having a team by the end of a game these days. And definitely, you could have a team of smaller players that you could have a strategy around for more movement, more craftiness. But if you don't have that strong center presence, we've seen it be pretty challenging for teams to hang on and get some offensive firepower. Goalie position, is it Adrian or Adrian?
Adrian, I think.
Adrian. Yeah, he's not the Spanish
Ramirez.
speaking. Yeah.
Yeah. Goalie out of Fremont, California. How'd this relationship kick off?
Yeah, so it's basically also relating to Dylan. They're in the same team. They're great teammates. And we started the conversation. We were graduating Stelios, our previous goalie. So, with the roster limits, we were thinking about 3, 4 goalies. I think 3 is the amount that we're gonna stick with. And Stelios graduating, we needed one goalie to replace him. We currently have 2 goalies, Finn and Travers, who are doing a great job. And Adrian, coming as a freshman, is gonna help with like the practices, and of course he's gonna have to adjust to the new level, because it's hard for a like a high school goalie go into college and be able to play right away. Everything is faster. The passes are faster. Shots are faster. Players are more intelligent. They trick you way different than a high school team. So
Yeah. We always say that the goalie, center defender, and center positions are the toughest
Yeah.
to recruit because it's the hardest to adapt.
yeah,
A center defender guarding a freshman center, so a senior center defender could be 40, 50 pounds heavier than a freshman coming in, right? Like the body types are just not necessarily there yet, and it takes time when you're younger. Alex Sharp out of Sunnyvale, he's at St. Francis High School, if memory serves.
yeah. He had a gap year.
Okay.
Previous year he was in Spain with water polo experience with Perastrain, and he was playing for CMB for Barcelona, the B team. He was practicing in the mornings with the senior team with Andre Josep, the head coach for CMB. And Mark Prats, the assistant coach. They were his coaches. He was practicing with the senior team in the first session in the afternoon, and then at night he was with the 18Us and B team. So he saw that different water polo, and he's coming We think we're gonna use him more as a center defender,
Mm-hmm.
and he started already with us on Monday, and I really like how he's practicing a lot of intensity and willingness to learn, which that's super important.
Clay, we're hearing this a lot more than I've ever heard it, of these players taking a gap year. I know Gavin West at Stanford did it. He was with Sabade,
Ruby,
and Ruby. He was with Ruby as well. We've seen Aiden Romain is doing his final 2 years of high school in Spain with CNB. Now Alex Sharp. I mean, this is becoming a thing. This is
Very
like,
interesting. It used to be
yeah,
like you just couldn't before. You get passed up for whatever reason, and maybe just it was because the opportunities weren't there. But usually, it just takes a couple of trendsetters to be like, oh, we see the advantage now
yeah,
to bring these players in. Very interesting. Or like
yeah,
your scholarship opportunities are at risk if you take that gap year off. That used to be a big
yeah,
thing, right?
yeah,
Not anymore, it seems.
yeah. So that's amazing. Well, great class, David. Your first ever LMU recruiting class as a head coach. Congratulations. Well rounded here. Got some internationals. You got some domestic players. Love to see it, and can't wait to see how they do this year. How many guys can contribute in a freshman year, and how you develop them. I know you're very good at development from what we've seen. And so our next piece of this is certainly not to be outweighed. You've got a great slate of games. You are in the most competitive conference in America in the WCC. You've got a lot of tough games. San Jose State's going to be very good. Long Beach is going to be very good in the Big West. Pepperdine going to be very good in the WCC. They return a lot of production, a ton of production. But a really fun game is San Diego's UCSD at UCSD, September 24th is their home opener when all the kids are back in school. Now, they're a quarter system, so they start much later. They start in September. LMU being a semester system starts in middle of August, late August. So you got
yeah,
3-4 weeks ahead of them.
August 25th.
Yeah.
Is our first day of class.
First day of class. God, I missed that, Clay. Anyway, enough reminiscing. So talk to us about the schedule. You've got UCSD. How do you prepare for that game? It's always a tough environment to go there. UCSD draws a really big crowd, especially that first weekend game. What is that like for you? How do you prepare for that?
Yeah, we prepare like any other game, basically. It's gonna be interesting to see how the team develops over the summer, and once we have all the pieces together, like all the returning players, the freshmen coming back from JOs, see how they mesh together and how they bond. Our first game, as you mentioned before, against Irvine, that's gonna be a good way to see where we're at. We play Irvine and Fullerton that same day on August 29th, and it's gonna be a good test for
Mm-hmm.
us. After that, we'll see how we adjust and focus. It's the end of the season. For me,
Yeah.
the most important part is the end of the season, which I tell the guys. Of course, we want to win all the games, but what really matters is conference tournament.
Yeah.
We've seen it in the past. We've seen it in the 2 years that the WCC has been happening. The fourth seed CBU upsets the first seed at home, and CBU has been giving great performances lately. San Jose playing 2 finals in a row. They're of course the team that we need to consider also to play in the final. Pepperdine is always tough. Pacific, we don't know how they'll be this year with all their players graduating, but they're also gonna put up a good game. So it's gonna be good competition throughout the whole season.
Yeah. Do you approach these league games against San Jose State and Pepperdine, those WCC matchups, differently than you approach a UCSD and a Long Beach State game that are maybe out of conference?
Yes. Yeah. Like from a practice standpoint, the amount of practice or the load of the practice of a conference game is different than the load of the practices for a non-conference game. Yes, all the games matter for rankings, for out large, for RPI, but being, honest, like I don't think we are in the story of an out large just yet. So we need to focus on conference games because that's what gives us the seeding for conference tournament. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that doesn't take that the non-conference game are less important,
Mm-hmm.
but from a preparation standpoint and having the team ready towards the end of the season, we need to differentiate games. We cannot go the whole season thinking that each game is as important as a conference game or the
Sure.
conference tournament. As coaches, of course, the players need to think that and they need to approach that game as is the
Right.
most important game. But as coaches, planning the season and planning the practices, we need to make differentiations and we need to work the guys so they're at their peak when it really matters. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting. Uh, it's always interesting how coaches approach different parts of the season. We saw Long Beach last year didn't have a tremendous first part of the season, but then they just stormed through the Big West Conference tournament. We saw CBU had a good season last year, not great, but then took it to Pacific in their conference tournament, where Pepperdine had a really good regular season, not a great WCC tournament. And how teams prepare, as you said, more important to win at the end of the season than necessarily the beginning. And we've talked about this before, Clay. Being a different team at the end of the season than you are at the start of the season, hopefully better, is really important. And so it's never just one game, right? When you're not an MPSF team, it's never just one game, really, in all reality. And I think that it's very interesting to see how that's approached by different coaches. And you've got a lot of experience, David. You played Champions League, you played in Division Day Honor. I'm actually kind of curious, how has that played into how you approach these teams and this and a full season like this with your elite level experience? You're one of, David, I don't know if you're one of very few coaches that has Champions League experiences, like play as a player in the United States. And so that's pretty unique now that I think about it, man. So how does that play into this?
Yeah, it's a whole different system having playing league and Champions League the same year. That was hard. As a team we didn't have a lot of depth in the roster. So playing 2 games per week at the level of high European water polo, it's way different. The approach of the season in Europe, having year-long season, and home games, away games with each team you play.
Right.
It's a whole different approach.
Yeah.
And for me, it was an adjustment when I came as a player. Because if you look at it, our season it starts end of August, and very few teams are lucky to play beginning of December. Most of the teams are done late November.
It's just 3 months.
3 months, and players same
True
age.
season.
Yeah, that's
like literally one of 4 seasons. Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
that was a big adjustment, and
sure.
That's also how we're thinking in terms of how we've been scheduling the games. We don't want to play, like, for example, one of the hardest thing for me as a player to adjust when I came to play, it was the 4-game weekends. Having to play 4 games in 2 days, that was brutal.
Well, it's just
we made our opinions known on this podcast.
Yeah, we are not fans of that either. I think the quality of
the restrictions that are at hand with travel and everything else, but boy, it's tough.
Yeah, for teams who have the depth, and big roster, and they play higher level teams and lower level teams the same weekend, and then you can actually play everyone. That works. But for teams who actually have to rely on 10, 13 players, the 4th game, it's literally killing them.
Even the 3rd game.
Yeah.
Even the 3rd game. Sometimes even the 2nd game. To your point, Coach Graham at UOP won't play those tournaments. where you're playing 4 games in 48 hours, even if it's a 1-2-1 format or a 2-2 or whatever. So what he's done is scheduled home games Friday night to bring a crowd. And exactly as you've said, you may only go 10 players deep, 11 players deep, versus another program that goes 16 players deep. It's a completely different game when you're only playing one game in a weekend, right? One game in one day, and you don't have anything the next day. It's a totally different approach. And to me, that puts teams on a more level playing field.
Yeah. Like definitely, like I'm gonna bring LMU women's team last season to the conversation. Like they played UCLA in quarterfinals of NCAA, and they put up a good show. Like they hold them till the end of the game. You know, UCLA was going 16-6 out. LMU didn't have the depth of doing that. It was their first game of the tournament. They were able to stay head to head to them till the end of the game. If that happens on a Saturday night, third game,
done.
It's way harder that can happen.
It's a completely different game. I'm of the mind, and we'll get into this, at NC2A finals, they need to give a break after the semifinal. There needs to be a gap. And so a day off for both teams to kind of recover to ensure that you get the highest quality water polo. I digress. David, it's been wonderful having you on here, man. We're so excited for you in your very first season. I'm hopeful to get down, watch some LMU games, and certainly when you're in Northern California, check that out. But good luck this year in your very first season as a head coach. The newest head coach in NC2A, David Carrasco at LMU, taking over for the famed John Loughran after 20-plus years at the helm. Good luck, my man. We're rooting for you. The rise of the Jesuits is back.
Thank you so much, guys.
Of course.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon. Have a great season, and hopefully we'll have you and some of your players on later this year. But good luck, and we'll be rooting for you.
Thank you.
Hasta luego.
Take care.